Today I am going to begin from perpendicular axis theorem. Perpendicular axis theorem. It is used for determining the moment of inertia of a plane lamina. Now, what is perpendicular axis theorem? According to perpendicular axis theorem, moment of inertia of a plane lamina. Plane lamina means it will be two-dimensional, just like this. It is having prominently only two dimensions, length and breadth. Its width is very, very small. It's clear. This cardboard, it is also a plane lamina. So according to the perpendicular axis theorem, moment of inertia of a plane lamina, about a perpendicular axis, to its plane, is equal to sum of moment of inertia of lamina about two mutually perpendicular axes. Two mutually perpendicular axes lying on the plane of lamina. And intersecting at a point where perpendicular axis meets to lamina. So this is the statement. Now I am going to explain this perpendicular axis theorem. So you can see here suppose this is a plane lamina, or this is a plane lamina whose moment of inertia you have to determine about which axis? About this axis. You can see here. This axis is perpendicular to the lamina. It's clear. We have to determine the moment of inertia of this lamina whose boundary is this, about this axis. You can see here. This axis is, yes. We have to determine its moment of inertia about an axis which is perpendicular to its plane. This axis is perpendicular to the plane of lamina. We have to determine mi about this axis. So according to this theorem, it will be equal to the sum of the mi of this lamina about two mutually perpendicular axes which are lying on the plane of lamina and meeting at which point? Where this perpendicular axis is meeting to the lamina. So see here, this is the perpendicular axis. You can see this is the perpendicular axis. It is meeting to the lamina at which point? At this point. At this point it is meeting. It is meeting to the perpendicular axis. It is meeting to lamina at this point here. So its mi of this lamina about this axis will be equal to sum of the mi of the lamina about two mutually perpendicular axes. Mutually perpendicular मतलब जो एक दूसरे के perpendicular, lying on the plane of lamina and meeting at which point? Where perpendicular axis is meeting to the lamina. So see here, Here mi about this axis will be equal to moment of inertia about this axis plus about this axis. It's clear. Mi about this axis will be equal to the mi about this axis plus mi about this axis. Here we have assumed that let mi of lamina about perpendicular axis equals to I, and mi about this axis is ix, mi about this axis is iy. Then according to that, I will be equal to ix plus iy. Now see here, how will you do this? So we have taken one point here whose mass is mi, and its distance from this axis, this perpendicular axis. You can see here what will be the distance of this particle from this perpendicular axis. It will be equal to this. It will be equal to this. You can take this as Ri. So what will be I, moment of inertia about this axis? It will be equal to, for this particle it is MIRI square. But there are various particles like this, so it will be equal to sigma MIRI square. It's clear. For this particle it is Mi into Ri square. But there are number of particles like this, so we can write sigma MIRI square. Now if you take the coordinate of this point with respect to these axes as x-axis and y-axis. So see here what will be xi, yi. This is the coordinate. अब अगर हम ये देखें तो xi क्या है? xi will be this distance, and what is yi? This distance. If we determine the mi of this particle about x-axis, mi of this particle about x-axis, तो इस पार्टिकल की x एक्सिस से परपेंडिकुलर डिस्टेंस क्या है? yi के बराबर. So it will be mi yi स्क्वायर. अब अगर सभी पार्टिकल्स का mi इसके अबाउट निकाल के ऐड कर दें, जितने पार्टिकल्स इस लैमिना को कॉन्स्टिट्यूट कर रहे हैं उन सब का mi इस एक्सिस के अबाउट निकाल के ऐड कर दें, देन दैट विल बी इक्वल टू दिस. That will become equal to ix. It's clear. Now similarly, what is mi of this particle, of ith particle about y-axis? So y-axis से इसकी perpendicular distance क्या है? So y-axis से perpendicular distance ये, जो कि किसके बराबर होगी? xi के बराबर. It will be equal to, this distance will be equal to xi. So what will be its moment of inertia about y-axis? It will be mi xi square. And when you will add mi of all the particle about this, that will be this. It will be equal to iy. It's clear. Now what is the relation between ri, xi and yi? So you can see here from Pythagoras theorem, ri square equals to xi square plus yi square. Here in place of this we can write sigma mi. In place of ri square it is xi square plus yi square. Now on opening the bracket, sigma mi xi square plus sigma mi yi square. What is sigma mi xi square? It is iy plus what is sigma mi yi square? It is ix. Means you can write I equals to ix plus iy. This means moment of inertia of lamina about a perpendicular axis is equal to sum of the mi of the lamina about two mutually perpendicular axes lying on the plane of lamina and intersecting at which point? Where perpendicular axis is meeting to the lamina. Now after this, we will see some formulae of the moment of inertia. So you can see here, and these formulae are given in your book, page 424. You can see there. Now see here. Moment, and by using these theorems, we will find out the mi about the other axis also. So see here, mi of a rod. It is there is a thin rod, and its mi we will find out about its center of mass. Now see here, mi of a thin uniform rod about a perpendicular axis through its center of mass. It's clear. Now see here, how will you find what will be the formula? So first you see here. Here this is a thin uniform rod of length L. Now uniform means its mass is distributed uniformly. Mass is distributed uniformly. It is not like that this part is heavier and this part is lighter. It's clear. It is not like that. Its length we have taken as L. It's clear. Its length is L. This is the length of the rod. Where will be its center of mass? Its center of mass will be the midpoint. This will be the midpoint of the thin uniform rod because mass is distributed uniformly. We have to determine its moment of inertia about an axis which passes through center of mass and which is perpendicular to the length of the rod. Means rod ऐसे है तो ये क्या है, ये ऐसे pass. You can see here. Here it is the rod, so axis is passing through this way. It's clear. It is perpendicular to the rod. Yes. This way, it is passing perpendicular to. It is perpendicular to the length of the rod and passes through the center of mass. So see here. Here about this axis we have to determine. So what is the formula? Its derivation is not in our course. It will be ml square upon 12. ml square upon 12. Now suppose you have to determine its mi about another perpendicular axis. Another axis which passes through its one end and perpendicular to its length. Mi about an axis perpendicular to its length and passes through one end. Through one end. We have to determine moment of inertia about this. This is the moment of inertia about this axis. So see here, we will apply perpendicular parallel axis theorem. In this case, in order to determine moment of inertia of this rod about this axis, we will apply parallel axis theorem from parallel axis theorem. Axis theorem. It will be I equals to, it will be equal to ICM plus mh square plus mh square. M is the mass of rod. M is mass of rod. Mi about this axis will be equal to moment of inertia about a perpendicular about a parallel axis through the center of mass. According to the parallel axis theorem, Mi about this axis will be equal to Mi about another axis parallel to it and passing through center of mass plus product of mass and square of distance between both the axes. So what is the distance between both the axes? You can see here it will be equal to L upon 2. So ICM already you know, ML square upon 12 plus M, and what is H here? L by 2 whole square. So this will become ML square upon 12. And when we will simplify this, it will be ML square upon 4. On taking LCM and simplifying, it will come out 4 ML square upon 12. That is equals to ML square upon 3. It will be ML square upon 3. This will be the moment of inertia about another axis passing through its one end and perpendicular to its length. Now after this, Mi of a rectangular lamina or thin rectangular plate. Mi of a rectangular lamina. About a perpendicular axis through its center of mass. Through its center of mass. So see here. And here in every case, mass is distributed uniformly. It is a rectangular lamina. You can see here. This is a rectangular lamina whose length we have taken as L and breadth as B. Where will be its center of mass? So center of mass will be the point of intersection of diagonals. It will be the point of intersection of diagonals, means this will be the center of. We have to determine Mi about this axis which passes through its center of mass and perpendicular to its plane. Mi of the rectangular lamina about a perpendicular axis. Perpendicular axis means perpendicular to the plane of rectangular lamina. It's clear, perpendicular to the plane of rectangular lamina. Now you have to determine Mi about this. So what will be the Mi about this? So you can see here it will be equal to ICM. It will be equal to M upon 12 within bracket L square plus B square. Yes. M is the mass of the rectangular lamina. Now after this, there is one more. Mi of a ring about an axis, about a perpendicular axis. Perpendicular axis means perpendicular to the plane. Perpendicular to the plane, passing through center of mass. Mi of thin uniform ring. And all these formulae are in your course. Ring. Mi of thin uniform ring perpendicular to its plane and passing through center of mass. Through its center of mass. Now, as we know that ring will be circular in shape. It will be circular in shape. Here I made the ring on the plane of paper. On the plane of paper, ring will be made like this. Though it is in oval shape, but actual shape will be circular. On plane of paper, it is made like this. Where will be the center of mass? The center of ring will be the center of mass. You have to determine mi about this axis. About this axis, we have to determine the moment of inertia. It's clear. Here we have assumed let its mass is m and radius is r. Radius is r. So what will be the mi about this axis? So it will be equal to I equals to m into r square. I equals to m into r square. Now suppose you have to determine its mi about any diameter. Mi about ring, mi of ring about any diameter. So see here. Here we have taken two perpendicular diameter. One diameter is this and another diameter is this. These are the two perpendicular diameters. Since all the diameters are symmetrical, therefore जो mi इस diameter के about होगा वही इसके about होगा वही क्या है कोई अगला diameter. So we have assumed that it is mi about the diameter is id. Now from perpendicular axis theorem. Perpendicular axis theorem. Moment of inertia about this axis will be equal to, it will be equal to, you can see it will be equal to here. Here I am trying to show you. This is the perpendicular axis. This is perpendicular axis. Moment of inertia about this will be equal to mi about this axis plus mi about this axis. These two axes are lying on the plane of lamina, perpendicular to each other, as well as meeting at which point? They are intersecting each other at which point? Where this perpendicular axis is meeting to the lamina. Means mi about this axis will be equal to id plus id. So you can see here, it will be equal to I equals to id plus id. But I, you know, it is mr square. So it will be equal to mr square plus 2id. So what will be id? Moment of inertia about diameter. This. So this is the moment of inertia of the ring about diameter. And this is the moment of inertia of the ring about a perpendicular axis through its center of mass. It's clear. Now after this, moment of inertia of a thin circular disc. Disc means it is just like the CD. Mi of the disc. Disc about the perpendicular axis through its center of mass. So first you see here what is the disc. Disc is just like the ring. Shape will be in ring shape. Here it will be in the ring shape. It's clear. But it is filled with material. Here it is everywhere there is a material. While in the ring, material is only along the circumference. Here throughout there will be the material. Its center of mass will be its geometrical center. You have to determine moment of inertia about this axis. This is the center of mass. So what will be moment of inertia? ICM equals to mr square upon 2. Of ring it is mr square, but of disk it will be mr square upon 2. It's clear. And why it is so? Because in ring, whole of the material is situated at the circumference. But here only a part of material is on circumference. Rest of the material is nearer to the axis. वो axis के पास में है. So it will be ICM equals to mr square upon 2. Now if you have to determine its moment of inertia about diameter, so we have taken two perpendicular diameter. One is this and another is this. Once again we will apply the, since all the diameters are identical, therefore it will be same. Now we will apply the perpendicular axis theorem. So mi about this axis will be equal to mi about this diameter plus mi about this diameter. That is ICB equal to IT plus IT equals to 2IT. It is equal to mr square upon 2. So what will be ID? It will be mr square upon this. This will be about the diameter. After this, mi of the solid sphere. Mi about a solid sphere. About its center. Center. Or we can say center of mass also, anything you can say. It's clear. Here it is a solid sphere of mass m and radius capital R. It is completely filled with material. It's clear. You have to determine moment of inertia about an axis passing through its center. It's clear. Here there is no meaning of the perpendicular. Axis may be in any way. It's clear, because it is a three-dimensional body. So what will be the moment of inertia about this? So it will be equal to I equals to mr square upon 2 mr square upon 5. It will be 2 mr square upon 5. Moment of inertia of a solid sphere about an axis through its center. About an axis through its center of mass. Its geometrical center will be the center of mass. Now, if you have to determine its mi about a tangential axis, means this. See here about this axis, how will you determine mi about a tangential axis? So IT will be equal to ICM plus MH square. What will be H here? H will be this distance. H will be equal to R. So you write here 2 mr square upon 5 plus m into r square. So on simplifying, it will be 7 mr square upon 5. So this is of the mi of the solid sphere. Then some other formulae are also given. You can see in your book. After that, we will see the equilibrium of rigid bodies. It's clear. Equilibrium. So first you know what is the meaning of equilibrium. Equilibrium of rigid bodies. Now equilibrium means if the state of any body, state means state of rest or state of motion. If the state of any body do not change, on applying number of forces or on applying number of torques on the body. Then we say that body is in equilibrium under the influence of those forces. Body is in equilibrium under the influence of those forces. And what will be the resultant of those forces? What will be the resultant of those torques? That will be zero. For example, here this is a body and which is capable to move. Which is capable to move means it is not pivoted. Here it is not pivoted. And number of forces are acting here. F1 is acting, F2 is acting, this force F3 is acting, and F4 is acting. And under the influence of those forces, it is still at rest. Forces are acting, but it is still at rest. It means the resultant of these forces will be zero. And when you will find the resultant, so as you know that force is a vector quantity, means it will be equal to zero. It's clear? So this is the condition of translational equilibrium. We can say that sigma vector S will be equal to zero. If this is zero, then body will be in the translational equilibrium. Translational equilibrium, if before applying the force, it was at rest, then still it will remain at rest. If before applying the force, it is moving with 2 meters per second in a certain direction, then after applying these forces, it is still moving with 2 meters per second in the same direction. It's clear? It is still moving in the same direction with the same speed. This is the condition for the translational equilibrium. A body is said to be in translational equilibrium if there is no change in its state on applying the number of forces upon the body. What will be the condition? Resultant of all those forces will be equal to zero. Now, similarly, suppose this body is capable to rotate about somebody, about some point. This body is capable to rotate about some point and some forces are acting. It's clear, one force is acting, these forces are acting in this way, in such a way that their line of action do not pass through the point of rotation. Because when line of action will pass through the point of rotation, what will happen? They will not produce any torque, they will not produce any moment, and when there will be no torque, no moment, body will not rotate. It's clear? So you can see here number of forces are acting over the body and all are rotating in the body in the different direction. Either one each rotating in, this is rotating in clockwise direction, this will rotate, F2 will rotate in anti-clockwise direction, F3 will rotate in anti-clockwise direction, F4 is rotating in clockwise, in anti-clockwise direction. It's clear? Only F1 is rotating in clockwise. Rest all are rotating in anti-clockwise direction. You can see here. This will also, this is rotating. F3 is also rotating in clockwise direction. It's clear? So since this body is free to rotate about this point, number of forces are acting such that they are producing the torque. But still the body either at rest or rotating with the same angular speed. Still the body either at rest or rotating with the same angular speed. So we will say that the sum of the torques produced by these forces will be zero. Sum of the torques produced by these forces will be zero. Now, as we know that torque either can act in upward direction or it can act in downward direction. Torque will be either clockwise or it may be anti-clockwise. Only there are two directions. Either it can rotate in the clockwise direction or it can rotate in the anti-clockwise direction. So what will be condition of equilibrium? Condition of equilibrium will be algebraic sum. All of you remember that whenever there is the only two directions, Then instead of saying vector sum, we say algebraic sum. We say algebraic sum. Algebraic sum of torques about point of rotation will be 0. It's clear, but mathematically we will denote in the same way. Sigma of vector tau will be equal to 0, or we can say that total algebraic sum of the moments about total algebraic sum of the moments in anti-clockwise direction will be equal to total algebraic sum of moments in clockwise direction. Then about couple, you know, couple means when two equal and opposite forces act on a body in such a way that their line of action are parallel to each other and acting at some distance from each other. Suppose this is a body, one force is acting in this direction, another force is acting in this direction. Both forces are equal in magnitude, opposite in direction, such that their line of action do not coincide. Then what will happen? They will either rotate the body in clockwise direction or in anti-clockwise direction. For example, here they will rotate in what direction? Both forces are rotating in anti-clockwise direction. Body will rotate about the anti-clockwise direction. What will be the moment of couple? It will be equal to 1 of the force multiplied by perpendicular distance between their line of action. That is F into D. So these things you have studied in the class 10 that you can. Then there are some examples of equilibrium of rigid bodies. Examples of equilibrium of rigid bodies. You can see here. Now see here. Here I am taking a case of leaning ladder, slanting ladder which is in the slanting direction, which is in equilibrium. Now here, this is a wall, and this wall we have taken frictionless. Frictionless. There may be friction also. And this is the floor, which is a frictional floor, rough floor. That is rough floor. And a ladder is resting in equilibrium here. It is resting in equilibrium here. It's clear. And since it is resting in equilibrium, therefore, what will be? What is the complete condition of the equilibrium? Net forces, vector sum of the forces acting on the body should be 0, as well as vector sum of the torque should also be 0. This is the complete condition of equilibrium, because rotational as well as translational motion both may be present in the body. Rotational as well as translational motion both may be present in the body. So see here, if you see here how many forces are acting on the body, so one will be its weight acting vertically downward from the center of gravity. Acting vertically downward from the center of gravity. Then one force will be here normal reactionary force. This foot of the ladder is resting here at this point. So normal reactionary force will act in this direction. It's clear. One reactionary force will act here. This point you can name as A. This we have taken as B. So here the reaction which is acting here, that we will note as RB. It's clear. Now see here, when this ladder will start moving, when it is start skidding, means here it is like this. When it's this, it goes in this direction. It is clear, because it will not go up. When you will start moving over the ladder, what will happen? Because of your weight, what will happen? This end A, foot of the ladder will move in this direction. Foot of the ladder will move in this direction. And when foot of the ladder will move in this direction, what will happen to the direction of frictional force? Frictional force will act in this direction, which we can name as small f. It's clear? Now these forces are acting. One is the weight acting vertically downward from the center of gravity. One is the normal reactionary force N, which is acting vertically upward. Normal reactionary force N acting at the point A. It is capital N. Another is the normal reactionary force acting at the point B. It is RB. It is also perpendicular. And a static frictional force F here in this direction. Now, under these forces, it is in equilibrium. This thing is this is in equilibrium. This point I have taken as C and this point as D. So see here, since it is in equilibrium, therefore vector sum of the forces will be zero from the condition of translational equilibrium. From condition of translational equilibrium, vector sum of the forces will be zero. So first we will see along x-axis. x-axis के along कितने forces लग रहे हैं? F इधर लग रहा, RB इधर. Since it is in equilibrium, therefore इन दोनों का resultant क्या होगा? Zero होगा, means F will be equal to RB. Then along y-axis. Y-axis you can see N is acting upward, W is acting downward, therefore N will be equal to W. Then we will see the moment of forces which are acting on the this moment of forces, because it should be in equilibrium. In equilibrium, torque should be zero. So see here, we will determine the torque about the point E. It's clear? Because if it is in equilibrium, then torque about point A, torque about point G, torque about point B, all will be zero. It's clear? So see here, torque about point A. You can see here. When you will determine the torque about point A, small f will not produce any torque about point A because its line of action passes through A. Capital N will also not produce any torque because its line of action is passing through A. W will produce the torque about the point A, and in what direction? In anti-clockwise direction. In anti-clockwise direction, not in anti-clockwise direction, in clockwise direction. In clockwise direction. It is in clockwise direction. While RB will produce the moment about the point in what direction? In anti-clockwise direction. Since it is in equilibrium, therefore clockwise moment will be equal to anti-clockwise moment. What is the clockwise moment? Clockwise moment कितना होगा? This force multiplied by perpendicular distance of its line of action from the point of rotation, that is AD. W into AD. This is the clockwise moment. Now what will be anti-clockwise moment? This force multiplied by perpendicular distance of its line of action. इसकी line of action ये है. उसकी A से perpendicular distance कितनी होगी? इतनी. इतनी मतलब BC के बराबर. This means BC. It's clear. So it will be R in RB into BC. So now we will do the numericals. Not today. In the next lecture tomorrow, maybe we will do some numericals of this. Its theory has almost finished. It's clear. Now in the numericals, you can see on page 463, already I have done up to question number 7. Now from question number 8 onwards, it is left. So some are the formulae based you can do. Some numericals I will discuss in the next lecture. Tomorrow I will discuss some numericals. It's clear? So tomorrow will be the last day of this chapter. It's clear? If you have any problem, then you can ask. So today's class I am ending here.